Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to another edition of The Chair here on STV. From fashion to politics, because of course we had a very interesting evening a little while ago when of course the Fashion Week with Synergy Nights Live took place with its second edition, and of course with the changeover and the technical reconnections, that of course afforded us a late start. But nonetheless, a late start doesn't mean that we're going to cut the program short. In fact, we're going to give you a full dose of time. It's an exciting time here. Before the show started, our panel was extremely energized. We had a lot of interesting discussions, some unforgettable confessions, and believe you me, if you were to see what was happening while the cameras were off, you too would be very much intrigued and caught up with exactly what is happening here. Let's take a look at the political landscape before we get into the show. Of course, this weekend, the political parties had their grand rallies, fantastic presentations all around, and just yesterday was officially nomination day. So the gloves are off. The bell has rung, and most of us are now at the starting line as the political race counts down to the final days come September 7th, as we, of course, get into the general elections here in Trinidad and Tobago. At the chair, our mission is very simple. We get the candidates, or persons, of course, vying in different ways for the political situation, and we put them in the chair. Leave them to, and I use the word loosely, the mercy of our panel, where we can have real direct discussions, a full slate of young people representing different interest groups and some political parties, all with different opinions and point of views, and all having things that they want to ask directly of these individuals who put themselves up for that option of public office. And the gentleman that's going to be sitting in the chair tonight is a man that I believe is quite capable of handling our most energized and illustrious panel. And when we read his accolades, and I have to do it off my phone because the printer was offline this evening, we have a very impressive resume. This, and I say young man quite loosely because in the world of politics, he's indeed a young man. He's an alderman in the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, a holder of a BA in theology with an emphasis on health from the Andrews University, holder of an MA in criminal justice from the Boston University, doctoral candidate for global executive in education at the University of Southern California. He is the radio host of the Sunshine Hour on 91.9 FM. Over 20 years combined experience in the field of criminal justice, health, and social services, and a former national basketballer, believe it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest in the chair this evening, I'd like to welcome Mr. Dayne Francois to STV, Real TV, and the chair. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good evening. Thank you so much, O'Brien. I'm doing fantastic. I want to thank the young people for hosting me, and you, and I want to say special good evening to your audience, national audience.
Very well. Now, I'm sure you with your busy schedule, you may not have had time to look at the program before, so you're in for a treat because tonight I only serve as the guide. I use the word moderator loosely since we started the program because I am just here to introduce you, ignite the panel and stand by and ensure that nothing goes into disrespect or disrepute. Other than that, you have a real-time discussion with a panel of young voters that will, of course, be having quite a few interesting questions for you. So I do hope that you're ready for the experience.
I hope I'm ready too.
Okay, so Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, Mr. Francois, welcome to another edition of The Chair here on STV, Real TV. Let's welcome the panel and begin the discussion. Mr. Dayne Francois, special guest this evening.
Thank you.
Hi, good night, Mr. Francois. My name is Marsha Sangre, and I'm from the Youth Revolution from the 2015. My question to you tonight is, given that Mr. Warner has categorically stated that he will quote-unquote crawl on his belly to remove Kamala, how does the ILP intend to prove to the electorate that the general elections 2015 is about future development of the country, Trinidad and Tobago, and the future development of the youth of the country, and not based on some personal, misguided agenda?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, indeed.
Crawl on his belly, right?
He's quoted on saying that.
Yeah, so let's be brutally honest. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has not represented the interests of young people in this country. There has been a lot of bantering and talk concerning the way forward for young people, but I've not seen any real policy that targets the development of young people. So let's go there first. The other thing is that because of the failed leadership of Mr. Warner, rather of Kamla Persad-Bissessar,
I think you were correct on the first statement.
No. I'm correct on the second go around. Because of the failed leadership
you just got the names
Kamla
wrong.
Persad-Bissessar, I'm not against the position of Mr. Warner at all. We have a prime minister who is now the subject of some serious allegations, very, very serious allegations. There are witnesses who are not politically motivated, who have made clear statements regarding the exchange of checks. So that alone, is enough for any right-thinking citizen to question the leadership of the Prime Minister and to also crawl on their stomachs. In addition to that, we must also bear in mind that the police department held back critical information regarding the find of marijuana or a plant-like substance at the Prime Minister's residence.
How do you know it was marijuana? Was it tested?
A plant-like substance. Well, when it's at the Philippines, it's a plant-like substance. When it's in Lavantil, it's marijuana. And so I too would crawl on my belly to remove Kamla Persad-Bissessar from office. I think it's this leader has the most, this political leader and Prime Minister has the most amount of allegations ever in the history of this country.
However, your leader, the leader of the ILP, is currently waiting extradition. You should be the last person or any member of the ILP to speak about allegations, and they're just that, allegations. They're yet to be proven in a court of law.
Certainly, but based on...
Your leader is going to go before the grand jury.
Possibly, and so too may Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Well, we'll wait and see,
yes,
right?
Yes, so too may Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Mr. Francois, good
yes.
night.
Good evening.
Renako Williams, representing the PNM Youth League.
Yeah, my brother.
Good night. My question to you is simple. How do you feel personally about the allegations that surround your political leader?
Yeah, well, it's very unfortunate, the allegations. I want to be very clear. So far, they have just been that, allegations. You would recall that Senator John McCain, stated clearly that the world would be at risk if Russia were to host this particular World Cup. We must take the conversation there because there is now a deliberate attempt to take the World Cup away from Russia because, of course, of its interaction with Ukraine and Vladimir Putin involvement there. Warner's allegations, I think, is based on sour grapes. And until we can prove differently, in my humble view, it should remain just that. I also find it very interesting that several media houses continue to say corruption accused Warner, corruption accused Warner, corruption accused Warner, which is an international issue. But we have a local hard issue that affects the way we live in Trinidad and Tobago, okay, and we're not paying the type of attention.
Another quick one. Okay, what if these allegations were found to be true? How would you respond to that based on your position as a candidate and supporting the ILP? How would you respond to that?
Yes, contrary to the People's Partnership, the ILP isn't based on Jack Warner solely. The ILP is based on a particular philosophy and ideology. The People's Partnership campaign right now, one can easily reason that Kamla Persad-Bissessar is fighting 41 seats. In every constituency, you see the Prime Minister and the candidate. Every constituency, every rally, the candidates are hidden and Kamla Persad-Bissessar is on show. I find that very unfortunate. If Mr. Warner is found to be guilty of the allegations, the ILP would continue to forge on. We're a new party with a different worldview. We are very concerned about what exists that needs to be fixed, and what does not exist that needs to be created. That is the philosophy of the ILP.
Good night, sir. My name is Edward Young. I'm representing Take Back TT. I have two follow-up questions to the gentleman's question and a separate one. How can you ask the electorate to support the ILP when a majority victory for the ILP would mean electing a prime minister, or I should say, having a prime minister-elect that is currently facing corruption charges? That's the first. The second is, does the ILP have any contingency plan should Mr. Warner not win his seat? And who might, given that the ILP wins a majority, who will take over the reins as prime minister? And the third is that at this stage of our country's history, corruption is seen to be systemic. The voting public has been regaled with promises and with rhetoric around anti-corruption policies, but wastage and mismanagement of public funds continues. So I'd like to ask, what specific policies does the ILP intend to put into place to dam the torrent of public funds out of the use of the electorate? And if I might suggest it for you, would you be willing to sponsor constitutional reform, constitutional amendments, for the sake of banishing privately funded electoral campaigns in favor of publicly funded electoral debates and fora, as well as an auditing arm of the state, a separate auditing arm of the state?
Yeah.
I can repeat them if necessary.
Because, yes.
Is it first?
Right. Come again with the. But it was very, very loaded question. I think fantastic questions, especially regarding financing. But
how can you ask the ILP to support? Sorry, how can you ask the electorate rather to support the ILP if a majority victory for the ILP means that we will be electing a prime minister who is currently facing corruption allegations?
Yeah. Well, they are just that. They are just that. Allegations. They are just that. And the prime minister, one has international issues that, and so far he has complied with every single requirement that the United States would have asked him for. He have complied with our local authorities. Nothing debars Warner from being elected. If for some reason the charges, as I said before, turn out to be true, then the ILP would, of course, have to revisit the way we go forward. Naturally, the political leader would have to be changed, naturally. But so far, we believe in his innocence because we know that there are few parties that are aggrieved in this World Cup affair.
The second thing would have been, what's the contingency plan for the ILP if the political leader does not win his seat? If the political leader does not win his seat?
Well, we continue to move forward as a political party. We are a brand new political party. We are the youngest political party in the country. Well, the youngest serious political party in the country. And we anticipate that Mr. Warner would win, along with a number of our candidates.
So there's no incumbent. Should he not win his seat, there's no one earmarked
we have not anticipated
fantastic.
A loss, period. Yes.
And the last thing would have been, what are the specific measures the ILP intends to put in place to stem corruption? And as I said, if you would be willing to sponsor constitutional reform to banish privately funded electoral campaigns in favor of debates and fora.
Certainly. If we were to learn anything from President Obama's campaign, he went to citizens and they contributed liberally, $5 here, $2 there, so as to fund his campaign. I think we need to borrow a page from his book because we would not be in the situation that we're in today regarding these two businessmen who are caught up in the throes with the People's Partnership government. So I fully endorse what you're saying, and it is the position of...
I think you misunderstand.
Yes?
I think you misunderstand me. When I say publicly funded, I don't mean directly by the electorate from out of pocket. I mean as a function of government. The government hosts electoral debates and fora.
Oh, certainly. I do agree. And do you mean manipulation of the resources in the government to fund political campaigns?
No, I very specifically mean that there is no electoral campaigning. There are only electoral debates and public fora where the citizens can ask directly candidates questions, and there is no entertainment politics anymore.
No. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay, Mike, you're running currently as the ILP candidate for Toco, Sangre Grande, right? You're the older man in the corporation now. You're from the area.
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick point. I think that's very admirable that the ILP is selecting candidates from the areas to run for the 41 seats, as opposed to taking somebody from Las Lomas and putting them in Chaguanas West, or from Sipari and putting them in all 41 constituencies, as the case may be. My question is, being from Sangre Grande, what issues seem to be affecting the electorate of 12,000 odd persons, and how do you, as a participant for the next MP of the area, plan to address those issues?
Yes, certainly. Thanks, John, for the question. In Toco, Sangre Grande, we face some very unique challenges, and I'm glad to be the only candidate who, born in Toco, Sangre Grande, grew up in Toco, Sangre Grande, and would more than likely die in Toco, Sangre Grande. The only period that I did not live in Toco, Sangre Grande is when I was abroad studying. It is very unfortunate that the last member of parliament that we had who lived in Toco, Sangre Grande was Elmina Clark Allen. I was this high and this big, right? That's a few years ago, many years ago. Succeeding Elmina Clark Allen were people like Joseph Tony, born in Grande, but lives in Rima. Roger Boynes, born in Grande, but lives Five Rivers. Casimir, live out of the constituency. Rupert Griffith, out of the constituency. And now we're asked to select an individual who lives in Belmont and another individual who lives in Tacarigua. That is very unfortunate, because apparently Toco, Sangre Grande is a good place to work, but not a good place to live. And I'll tell you why. We have over 84 quarries in the nation. 62 are in Toco, Sangre Grande. Our lands are plundered. A lot of outside influences are coming in and getting extremely rich. Recently, the government gave out 240 acres of land, which is unprecedented for the purpose of mining, tearing up our ecology in Grande and making a few rich. And this is really the gravy train that they have latched onto. A few companies, the same set of companies that has been a part of so much controversy. So that's a serious issue. We're the poorest constituency in the country. 50 and 45% of students are not attending secondary school. We have almost 500 students in Toco, Sangre Grande who are not attending primary school. So while the Prime Minister boasts about universal, about education for all and early childhood education, you have 500 students who are not attending schools, and 45% and 50% are not attending secondary schools. Those are serious problems. So I'm looking into what the literature is suggesting is that we need to pay attention to the pedagogical content in our secondary schools. We need to pay attention to the reasons why folks are exiting schools. The literature is suggesting that they're leaving for work, because if you're poor and parents can't send you to school, you might as well go work. And parents are more contented to send students to work in opposed to getting a secondary school education. And the government has failed to address this very serious issue.
Interesting points coming to the table as we continue. Getting ready for our first commercial break right now, but I'm sure when we come back, our panel, who somehow or the other have gotten very subdued all of a sudden. I miss that energy that occurred before.
I think it's coming. It's coming. You're bringing the pain, right? Yeah, it's coming.
So we've been officially notified that when we come back from the break, we're going to, of course, take the energy to a whole different level. All right, our special guest, Mr. Dayne Francois, and of course, our panel. And we've got lots more questions, lots more things to find out as we continue with tonight's edition of The Chair. We'll be right back after these.
Yeah.
Another day living in the hood, just another day around the way. Yeah.